when you trade multiple picks to move up to the third overall selection, you have to get that pick right because you're normally going to lose your job if you don't. That's the way it works in the NFL. That's what coaches and general managers who make that big trade usually know. You better get it right. And I think the fact that the 49ers coach and general manager are not feeling any heat in their seats is why the San Francisco 49ers are one of the more successful franchises in the NFL right now. That's the way I'm choosing to look at it. Did they get the pick wrong? Well, based on the results, based on what they got out of Trey Lance, based on the fact that what they got for Trey Lance, the fact that they're trading him at all. I mean, think about it. A third overall pick that you trade 2 future firsts for is gone with just 4 starts before he starts his 3rd season in the NFL. 1 year after being the we're going to live and die with you starter of the team. And part of the reason why he's gone is because they drafted the final pick of last year's draft with a guy at the position who got the opportunity and didn't get hurt right away, like Lance in year 1 and year 2. He eventually did get hurt, but he had enough time to prove he's got it. And the fact that they're going with him instead of forcing Lance in there because they have to see what they have in him, because they gave up so much to go draft him, because they have to see what they have in him, despite what Purdy showed and what he's gotten in terms of respect within his own locker room, they have to go with Lance because they got to save their jobs. That's the alternative here. They have to do it. Because if they don't, if they trade him for a 4th round selection on the eve of his 3rd season there, they'll admit they missed. And the boss will see that and start questioning everything else that they're doing. And if Purdy doesn't work out, they're all out. And the house is clean. That's not going to happen. Or at least there's no threat of it happening. What if the alternative is that Shanahan's saying, yeah, that kid that definitely doesn't look as crisp and sharp and ready as Sam Darnold. You don't lose your job here due to injury. So, Brock, we saw what you did last year, and we know what you can do this year, and you look ready, and the locker room loves you. But sorry, we've got to go with Trey Lance week 1 in Pittsburgh because if we don't, my ass is on the line here. How many times do you hear stories like that in the NFL? Multiple.
A lot.
So I'd like to kind of zag here when everyone else is zigging and give the 49ers management team credit for having the cojones to make the trade and then admit they're wrong and get out of it and go with an alternative that's better because they also do know what they're doing in the draft, or they got lucky in the draft and developed a quarterback.
The Rich Eisen Show presents Higher Register.
I'm saying here what I mean.
But if Purdy doesn't take him to the Super Bowl, then what?
Well, I guess we can deal with that then. But if Purdy keeps them on a Super Bowl track, then...
Or what if Purdy comes back down to earth and shows why he was the last pick in the draft?
Then they're going to maybe have some accounting to do this year, but then it'll all be on the line next year. Or they'll go with Sam Darnold and see what he's got. And maybe he is the next Steve Young. And then all of a sudden he's in a spot that he wished he could have been as a 3rd overall pick that Lance wished he might have still had in San Francisco, but his opportunities unfortunately went by the wayside. I'm kind of just saying here again, even though I did kind of go higher register, I'm saying that in the manner that I'm not saying it because I need to say it to believe it. I'm saying it that way because I don't hear anybody else saying, hey, Good on them for doing that, and for Jed York to let them run the risks. Here at this show, how many times do we say, no idea is crazy, right? Bryan Cranston came on here, said years ago, and it stuck with me, and I think all of us, best idea wins. Doesn't matter whose idea it is. If it's a great idea, you can employ it and use it. We do segments here every now and then. They don't, hit, but we ran the risk. It was worth it. We tried it. But and it's a healthy environment where you let someone run a risk, and if it doesn't work out, if everything else is a winning strategy, then let's move on with what we can do with the new idea. I think that's a healthy way to run an organization. Certainly healthier than one and dunning Tom Sula and then Chip Kelly back in those days after Harbaugh went. They're going in the opposite direction. They got one guy and coach that they believe with and one guy and general manager who works well with that coach, and they're going to keep going with it because they've got a championship team otherwise and might have one with Purdy. I was thinking that just last night. I'm like, they could have just sat there and said, hey, locker room, we're going with this kid who clearly is not as crisp and as ready as everyone else in that room because we need to prove we're right. More important to us to do that than make a decision that's even bolder that may be the right thing for everyone collectively. I've seen that many times in my 20 years in the NFL, but the Niners aren't doing that. They're like, all right, we're trading him for a fourth. We know that people will say that we're crazy or we don't know what we're doing here, but we're going with Purdy and then Darnold. And then if we get down to Brandon Allen, we're going to start, sacrificing something here because there's a football god that's trying to take us out. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.